Okay, Common Core Algebra 2. This is going to be our second flip lesson. This is going to be about evaluating algebraic expressions, at which point we're going to review our order of operations, which we talked about in class, or you did a worksheet in class the first day, and then about how to evaluate an actual absolute expression, which involves substituting and then simplifying the expression. So before we do that, we're going to do a quick reminder of vocabulary that you've seen in the past. Most of us probably remember this. It's just going to be a quick reminder. So a variable is going to be any letter that represents an unknown number. Okay, coefficient is when we have a term or a number that is multiplied by the variable. So it's the number in front of the variable a lot of times. So if I write down some term like 2x, then our variable is the x and our coefficient is the 2. And moving on, then we can talk about terms. It's any individual piece of an expression, of an algebraic expression, and it's always going to be separated by addition or subtraction, which is another word we use for difference. And then finally, we're going to have what is called the constant term, so it would be the term with no variable. So if I looked at this, I could say 3x squared plus 4x plus 2. And then that plus 2 would be that constant term, and in this case, we would have three different terms because we have two addition symbols to separate 3x squared, 4x, and the plus 2. Looking at another example then, here we have three terms, negative 4x squared and then minus, so 6x is the second one, and then plus 11. So we have three terms, and our constant term is 11 in this case. Moving on, then our next one, if we want to identify and combine like terms, so we're simplifying expression here. Just like we've always done in the past, we can only combine like terms. So we have a p squared, and we need to remember that that is different than p. And the other thing we need to remember is that the symbol in front of the term is what we need to use. So this really shouldn't be looked at as 5p squared minus 2p squared, which is going to give us a 3p squared. There's no other p's, so I'm just going to bring down the plus p. And then here we need to say negative 7 plus 11. And if we combine those, we end up with plus 4. So here there are no other terms we can combine, and that is as much as we can do, because remember the p squared is different than the p. And when we want to look at evaluating an expression, that's going to be something like we have down here at the bottom. So we're given a value for x, and what we need to do first is substitute in that given value for x. So if we do that first step, this is going to be 5 and then times 2. And in parentheses, 2 minus 6. So everywhere we have an x, we're substituting in an x. And then we're just going to follow our order of operations appropriate to what they are. So we need to do inside the parentheses first. So we have 5 times 2. And then inside the parentheses, 2 minus 6 is negative 4. And now, since this is all actually multiplication here, it says 2 times negative 4, we want to do it left to right. So 5 times 2 is going to give us 10. And then times negative 4 would end up with negative 40. The other thing, if you plug this whole thing into your calculator all at one time, you would have just jumped to that negative 40. Okay, so that would be your answer if we simplified. So that is it for the lesson in 1.2, evaluating absolute value, or evaluating algebraic expressions. We're going to throw in a few other things like absolute values tomorrow in class, and we'll probably do some group work, like creating some problems and things like that. All right, see you next time.